Welcome into the show. We're back at it again because we have to be. It's a Victory Friday here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Senior, and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making this morning show a part of your morning. Obviously, a lot of you waking up with us on the West Coast, but no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we have people rocking and rolling with us from every pocket of America and worldwide. And what a victory for the Niners last night. It'll go down as one of the craziest Niners wins in the history of this organization. And I know we have people watching this show of all types of different demographics and all types of age ranges, but everybody is going to remember that Thursday night, October 2nd, 2025 win for the Niners on the road against the Rams, and we're recapping it all here on the show. So here's everything that we're getting into here. Let's just dive in and dissect everything that transpired last night at SoFi Stadium, which once again became Levi Stadium South. Mac Jones, what a baller, what a warrior. Kyle Shanahan has to be in the early running for Coach of the Year. With all of the injuries that have happened to San Francisco, they are 4-1 after 5 weeks. Are you kidding me? I'm going to explain why the Niners, with that win last night, need to trade for an edge rusher. And if you're general manager John Lynch, if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're Jed York, how do you not have so much confidence in this team with what they were able to do last night? And you know you have to make a move at that spot because once again, you struggle to generate a pass rush. We'll also be doing a mailbag here this morning, so get your questions in. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. As always, I want to say thank you to all of the real ones and thank you to the faithful for your continued support of everything that we do here on the program. Myself, Chase Senior, producer Chip, we're very grateful for all of your support. Last night for our watch party, 162,000 friends stopped by all throughout the evening. Our post-game reaction show from last night, 14,000 views and counting, and we're already closing in on 175,000 subscribers. For those of you who are new to the show, those of you who need a reminder, I want to take your questions for a mailbag. And it's very easy to get involved. Within your comment in the comment section, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. You can ask me a question. You can pass along some observations. You can give me your analysis. If you have a hot take, you can do that as well. But within your comment, use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Nearly 400 people watching live on this beautiful Friday, October 3rd of 2025. As you come in here, please do us a favor, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find this stream, and the more fun that we will have. I want to bring as many members of the faithful in here as possible. So with nearly 400 people hanging out, let's get the stream to at least 100 likes and continue to rise up from there. Shout out to the recent commenter club, Eric Lane, Gary Hester, Rick Gonzalez, Jesse, Rick Diaz, Daniel, Joe Carmack, all hanging out in the chat. I'm ready to start the official show. Chip is as well. And let's talk some Niners right here on the program. Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Senior, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate all of you for making this Friday edition of the show a part of your day. What a win last night on Thursday Night Football for the San Francisco 49ers. That certainly goes down as a victory for the ages. And this is always a tradition on this program. Anytime the Niners win the next day, it's a victory day. And in this case, it's a Victory Friday. If you're pumped up about that improbable Niners victory, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. And let's begin here. We are going to remember this one forever. A short week. Niners were 8.5-point underdogs. San Francisco was banged up, injury depleted, without so many marquee players who are massive contributors to this football club. And the Niners persevere against a division rival, against one of the top teams in the NFL. We all rode that roller coaster together. The Niners showed a lot of heart, and they won an epic, gritty, big balls game. And obviously the play of that game to really decide it at the end in the overtime period, the Great Wall of San Francisco. That fourth down stop is up there with some of the most iconic plays in the history of this organization. I don't think it's a hyperbolic statement to make. Obviously, there's the Dwight Clark catch, but outside of that and some huge plays in Super Bowls, you think of that goal line stop on the road against the Seattle Seahawks, Dre Greenlaw with that huge hit. And then you think of that play last night as Sean McVay tried to go for the win. He didn't want to settle for the tie. And the Niners buckled down and they get that huge, critical, game-saving walk-off stop. And it's one of the more memorable plays in franchise history. And let's break it down with a little bit of a film study here, because as you can see here to my right, the Rams obviously in a running situation. Sean McVay said a little bit later he regretted this play call and he feels sick because he didn't put his team in a position to win the ball game. Deommodore Lenoir also had said, as you see him on the corner here, he knew that with the formation that the Rams were running, that they were going to run the football. And there's so many important things that happen in this play as it transpired, which resulted in this massive, huge, clutch win for San Francisco. Mykel Williams, the rookie first-round pick out of Georgia, did a great job of penetrating the interior, occupying a couple of Rams offensive linemen, and he helped to really start off this play with a lot of destruction. And then a couple of players deserve shout-outs here. Obviously, Fred Warner for shooting the gap. Chase Lucas, who Deommodore Lenoir called a psycho after the game, he shot the gap with a lot of velocity, and he put his hat right on some of those Rams offensive linemen. He helped to blow this play up. Then you see Deommodore Lenoir at the corner. And then you see the rookie, Marquis Siegel, the fifth-round pick out of Kansas State, who in coverage this year has been picked on, but he's come up with some really big plays to start the year, and you just see that he could potentially be a really special player for San Francisco. And even though he's gotten beat in coverage, that hasn't impacted his confidence. He's still playing really fast and really physical. And so Matthew Stafford here is under center. The carry is going to go to Kyren Williams as we progress to the next slide here. And you see how the Niners along the defensive line are really able to win their one-on-one matchups and how they're able to really disrupt this play right from the snap. And the Rams last night ran it 15 times. They did not have a negative run all game until this run right here. I thought Jordan Elliott did a good job of getting a push. Look at Mykel Williams right here, who's able to really push the offensive lineman into the backfield. That opens up an opportunity for Fred Warner to clog the hole, because if you're Kyren Williams here, where do you go? You can't go up the middle. You see Deommodore Lenoir setting the edge here, and so he can't really bounce it outside. It's a 4th and 1. And you have Lenoir really setting the edge there. And what's incredible is Marquis Siegel is the deep guy. And he was needed on this play to really polish it off. Because as you progress this play and once again go to the next slide, you see how Siegel is able to really help to push the pile, stop Kyren Williams in his tracks, and he wasn't able to get that secondary push to pick up the line to gain. So that obviously is from that angle. And then you see the behind the line of scrimmage angle. Look at Fred Warner here, number 54. Look at Deommodore Lenoir come in from the edge. Obviously, Marquis Siegel stops Kyren Williams right in his tracks as well, to never give him an opportunity to progress, move the chains, which ultimately probably would have resulted in a Rams victory. I mean, this Niners defense was on the field a lot after that first quarter when San Francisco dominated time of possession, and they were exhausted late. They had lost Kalia Davis. They lost Yetur Gross-Matos, but they're able to show some intestinal and mental fortitude and come up with a massive stop in the biggest play of the ball game. And of course, the celebration that ensued, absolutely epic. Robert Saleh going crazy as his defense able to dot the exclamation point. By this time, general manager John Lynch was down on the sideline. He was amped up, clapping his hands. He has to be so proud of his football team, especially a young team. Such a formidable moment for the young players on this roster. And then you don't see Kyle Shanahan show emotion a ton, although I will say he's been very fed up with some bad penalties to start the year. He's been very intense. He looks alive once again after last year. He looked kind of beaten down and battered mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So too did the whole Niners team. But Shanahan, with that smile, knows how big of a win that was for San Francisco. And for the Niners to be 4-1 right now, after 5 games played, with all of the injuries that have happened, winning 4 games with 2 different quarterbacks, 3 of which with the backup quarterback, and to have down-to-the-wire victories, for this team to be prepared, for this team to persevere, for this team to show so much mental and physical toughness, for this team to be ready to play in the guts of the game. Kyle Shanahan needs to be in the Coach of the Year conversation. And obviously one of the biggest storylines coming out of that game, the Niners quarterback. What we saw from Mac Jones last night, one of the grittiest quarterback performances ever. And let me reemphasize that. What we saw from Mac Jones on Thursday Night Football will go down as one of the grittiest, toughest quarterback performances we'll ever see. This Niners offensive line is not good. And obviously, Mac Jones came into this game hobbled. He got hit a lot, and he had to throw it a lot. Nearly 50 attempts on Thursday against one of the top defenses in the NFL. At one moment, it looked like Mac Jones was dead. He was motionless on the turf after he took a big hit on a 3rd-and-goal play. And he was getting crunched time and time again. At one point, his pants were down. Mac Jones had to get helped up by his teammates. He could barely walk off the field in overtime. It looked as though he was going to throw up on himself. But he's able to do this last night. 33 of 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a quarterback rating of 100.9. This is a legendary performance for Mac Jones. He is now 3-0 as a starter for this football team, and he has helped to save this Niners season. Mac Jones won this game and did that last night and performed that well against that Rams defense with those weapons. No Ricky Pearsall, no Jawan Jennings, no George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. Kendrick Bourne was the Niners' number 1 wideout. Demarcus Robinson, the number 2. The number 3 and 4, Sky Moore and Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who haven't even been with the team that long. And Mac Jones puts up those numbers with some huge plays on 3rd down, and he's able to battle through injuries and fatigue, getting hit countless times in the pocket. Mac Jones is an absolute dog, and he should earn the respect of everybody out there with what he was able to do on Thursday. And of course, it's how he did it, right? The 33 of 49 for 342 yards, obviously that many attempts goes to show you that Kyle Shanahan has so much trust in him. But look at the passing chart here. He's able to throw from sideline to sideline, all 3 levels. Obviously, a lot of these attempts were short, intermediate throws. He was highly accurate, big pressure throws, tight window throws, big 3rd down conversions, getting hit as he threw it. An MVP level performance from Mac Jones, where last night he looked like a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. And this spray chart is incredible in the way where Mac, against that defense with a depleted Niners offense, was able to matriculate downfield, go on a couple of really long scoring drives, convert in some big time moments. He was a surgeon against the Rams with a skeleton crew on offense. And I was walking into work today and I was thinking about this. I love stories like this where players are able to resurrect their careers, where players are able to redeem themselves and really changed the narrative that a lot of people had about that player. The New England Patriots and the Jacksonville Jaguars left Mac Jones for dead. Nobody in the NFL wanted him. Then Kyle Shanahan, who liked him in the pre-draft in 2021, signs him. Mac has played great. He's gone 3-0 as a starter to save the Niners season, and last night turns in one of the grittiest, toughest performances you will ever see. And Mac Jones threw 49 passes last night when the 49ers were either tied or in the lead. The only other quarterbacks to do that since 2020, Tom Brady twice, Patrick Mahomes twice, Ben Roethlisberger twice, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert. That's the ultimate trust from your head coach to the quarterback. And Fred Warner after the game was as pumped up as you will ever see him. He understands the weight of this victory, how this can help to propel San Francisco for the rest of the year, how this can give the Niners confidence, especially going into this mini bye week where they have to go on the road in week 6 and play a banged-up Buccaneers team. But this is a win that has season-long implications, what I meant to say there. And Fred Warner called the victory humongous. And it's hard to say otherwise. A humongous victory from the front office to the coaching staff to the roster, given the opponent. And how about how Niner fans showed out at Levi's South? Here's what Mac Jones said about his conversation as well with Kyle Shanahan on being 8.5-point underdogs. I don't really pay attention to much of it. Kyle came up to me and he was pissed about it. He's like, dude, I can't believe they moved us to underdogs again, or like more extreme underdogs or whatever. And I'm like, I don't really know what that means. I don't pay attention to betting, but yeah, let's go kill them. He was pissed about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm pissed too. Kyle Shanahan coached, pissed off. Mac Jones played, pissed off. And I thought especially in that first half when really this game was won, Kyle Shanahan coached his ass off and Mac Jones played his ass off. And I showed you that image a little bit earlier of Mac Jones nearly losing his pants. A lot of Niner fans are feeling that way on Friday morning in the aftermath of that game, given the roller coaster nature of it. And a lot of Niner fans can relate to this. Normal heartbeat, deceased heartbeat, the heartbeat watching the 49ers. And all of their wins have come down to the wire. All of their wins have been thrilling. And these are character-building victories that San Francisco would have not won last year. They found ways to lose those games in 2024. They are finding ways to dig deep, execute, and win these games here in 2025. And at 4-1, an opportunity to really solidify themselves as NFC contenders is really right there. So much more to get to here on the show, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the best and most elite daily and year-round coverage of the Niners. We're approaching 175,000 subscribers. If you like what you've seen on this show, this is what we do every single day. Let's get to our sponsor, our friends at PrizePicks. We appreciate them for making today's San Francisco 49ers report possible. This is the #1 fantasy sports app. Join the millions of users and sign up today. And they have a couple of new features here. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. It's very simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. We have a 3-pick power play here, and let's go with Drake May. Buffalo, New England, more than a half passing touchdown. He's played really well the last couple of weeks. And then Josh Allen, more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And again, that new feature, more than 225.5 passing yards. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Now we move forward here on the show. I said going into Thursday night that when you are so injury depleted, when you're so banged up and when you're without so many star, marquee, and important players, it is possible to pull off an upset. But as 8.5-point underdogs, you're 8.5-point underdogs for a reason. You have to play a near perfect game and be flawless and have the ball bounce your way. And it wasn't a perfect game for San Francisco by any means, but it was a near perfect game for San Francisco, and the ball did bounce their way. And what they could not do was play like they did against Jacksonville, where they lost the turnover margin 4 times, 4-0, and they had 6 drops, and they gave up an 87-yard punt return for a touchdown. And in this game, they reversed that, and they played pretty well in all 3 phases of the game. And this really is craziness defined for San Francisco. Think about everything that happened for the Niners to win this football game, ladies and gentlemen. Mac Jones was stellar on a bad leg. Kendrick Bourne literally had the game of his career, 142 receiving yards, a career high for him, and on third downs, he was money. You forced the fumble on Blake Corum because Sam Okuwana was able to slip past Puka Nacua. And as Blake Corum went to take the pitch, his eyes reverted up because he saw 91 screaming in. And so he coughed up the rock. And Travis Gibson, who was just elevated to the game day roster, recovered that fumble. The Rams also missed a 51-yard field goal. You needed that. Eddie Pinheiro has been incredible in replacing Jake Moody. Hasn't missed a field goal yet. He connects on a 59-yarder, the longest of his career. San Francisco also blocked an extra point. Jordan Elliott got a mitt on Joshua Carty's point after attempt. You had the Alfred Collins miracle fumble forced at the 1-yard line. What a play from the rookie. Kalia Davis got hurt. Alfred Collins had a bigger role. And when it looked as though Kyren Williams was going to walk in for a go-ahead touchdown late in the game, big number 95, with his incredible wingspan, is able to punch that ball out and then recover it. Now, he did kind of punch Kyren Williams right in the face, but he also contacted the football and he forced the fumble. And that play indirectly helped to lead to a Niners victory. Obviously, the Rams got the ball back, and I know some people said that should have ended the game. Sean McVay managed that pretty well. He had all 3 timeouts left, and I would have passed it if I was the Niners to go for the kill shot. Kyle Shanahan, in the shadows of his own goalpost, decided to run it 3 straight plays, and then the Rams obviously able to kick that field goal to force overtime. But you probably don't force overtime if it weren't for that Alfred Collins fumble forced. Then the Rams' overtime kick didn't fall in the kicking zone, so the Niners took over at the 40. And so they got great field position to start off the overtime period. Then Eddie Pinheiro's overtime field goal grazed off the left upright and went in. We're talking about craziness here. Game of inches. And then San Francisco sells out. They load the box, and they get the 4th down stop for the walk-off win. You also think about some of the big plays that the rookies made in this game. Marquise Siegel, the tackle to end it. Alfred Collins, the forced fumble. It's looking as though this Niners 2025 draft class shaping up to be a really good one, and the last 2 drafts could really be franchise-altering for San Francisco. Here's what Sean McVay said about that 4th down call, and obviously, with how Matthew Stafford played, he didn't put the ball in the hands of Stafford. Instead, the Rams decided to run it. Poor decision by me right there, but give the Niners credit. They made enough plays to be able to win the football game. I'm pretty sick right now. I'm sick of the spot that I put our group in to end the game. Niner fans are not sick, Sean. They are elated. As for some injury news here for the Niners coming out of that game, Niners defensive tackle Kalia Davis, part of that unheralded San Francisco defensive line from Ian Rappaport that continues to get pressure, even though they're not really, will undergo surgery today to repair a broken hand. Not expected to be a long-term injury, though. He can miss as few as 2 games, and he's expected to return with the club. So probably not an IR stint for Kalia Davis. Before the game, we did get a Brock Purdy update, and for as well as the Niners played, for as great as Kyle Shanahan coached, the Niners do deserve some criticism here. they completely botched and mismanaged the Brock Purdy injury going into that Jacksonville game. There was no reason to play him in that game. So Brock Purdy, according to Rappaport, might be out for a little bit longer than Thursday night. He's considered week to week and has no timetable for his return from a turf toe injury. He aggravated his toe injury during that week 4 loss to the Jags, and MRI revealed. So with him being week to week, there's no saying when he's going to come back. I would imagine he's not going to be able to play against Tampa Bay. And if that is the case, hopefully Mac Jones can get that knee healthy as the Niners have this mini bye. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way. We're doing crazy numbers here on YouTube. I'm doing crazy numbers on my social media pages. Plus, you get additional Niners content from yours truly right over there. All right, another reminder. We'll be doing a mailbag call for segment number 3. So get those questions in right now. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. That's hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. Coming up next year on the show, I'm going to explain why I think the Niners need to make a trade for a pass rusher. That's coming up here just around the corner. Continue to hang out here with us on this Victory Friday. And since it's a Victory Friday, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video to celebrate.
Couple super chats coming in. Dustin Reeves-Clark.
Thank you, Dustin. Bang, bang, chat. Let's get a defensive end ASAP. You're going to cue us up with our next segment right there. John Wallace, $5 super chat. Niner Empire and the faithful, I'm proud, and a 10-day rest. Let's go. You got to be proud of your football team with how they battled and persevered last night. CDL Cigar and Golf, $2 super chat. Great win. Still up for that cigar Falcons game week. Hey, man, I'd love to take down a cigar with you. I will not be in the Bay Area then because I'll be in the Chat Sports Studios for a watch party. But shoot, if you've got a cigar you want to send to the studio, I will give you the studio address and we'll definitely light those up. Again, mailbag call. Let's talk some Niners. We'll do that after this upcoming segment. Use the hashtag super chat or hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. And with that, we will shift gears and pivot to segment number 2. You ready to go? All right, here we go. Segment number 2. We waste no time. Let's get it. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there are having a fantastic weekend. Coming up here on the show, according to reports, the Niners are expected to make a move at pass rusher after that thrilling win over the Los Angeles Rams. And coming up here on the show as well, I'm going to give you some trade targets, 2 players who I really want the Niners to go after. And I'm going to explain why this is the right move and right approach for San Francisco. Before we do that, don't forget to show love to the channel and subscribe to the 49ers Report for free daily content on the Niners. We're 185 people away from 175,000 subscribers. Anytime I'm in front of a camera, on a microphone, talking Niners, I want our shows to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking. I want you to have a voice. So if that sounds great, lock us in and join the movement. After that wild Thursday Night Football win for San Francisco, the Niners are expected to pursue a pass rusher, and they should. Why? Because they need to. From a team standpoint, the 49ers are 4-1. They're going to be hovering around first place, if not in first place in the NFC West by the time that the NFL trade deadline comes around after Week 9. San Francisco has shown that they are clearly contenders. They're one of the top teams in the NFC. With enforcements coming, they're going to be a healthy ball club, meaning I think they can continue to get better. But in the last 2 games, against the Jacksonville Jaguars and against the Los Angeles Rams, this Niners defensive line has not been able to generate a pass rush, and they clearly need edge help. And if you're general manager John Lynch, and you saw how your Niners team was able to dig down deep, win that football game, come through in the clutch, persevere with a skeleton roster, it has to give you a lot of confidence that this Niners team is legit, this Niners team is for real, and they can contend for a Super Bowl this year. But they can't contend for a Super Bowl if they don't make a move for a pass rusher. But right now, it's incredible with where the Niners are at. And with them being 4-1, I think John Lynch has to make a move to instill belief and confidence in the team that the guys upstairs believe in the Niners. San Francisco 4-1, sole possession of first place in the NFC West. The Seahawks on their heels at 3-1. They've won 3 in a row since the Niners won that week 1 game. The Rams dropped to 3-2, and the Cardinals 2-2 heading into week 5. And this is what I mean by the focus of this conversation here today. The 49ers, yes, they got the win on Thursday night against the Rams, but Matthew Stafford's pocket was clean throughout the night. And a lot of times he had all night to go through his progressions, survey the field, pick this Niners secondary apart. And it's not because the Niners secondary played poorly, but it's because the pocket was so clean and it looked as though Matthew Stafford was playing 7-on-7. And in 7-on-7s, there is no line play, meaning he just had way too much time to throw the football. And when you are in the playoffs or you're in a playoff hunt and you're going up against elite quarterbacks, it is not a sustainable way to play defensive football if you can't generate or manufacture pressure on the quarterback. You're going to lose games. And Matthew Stafford carved up this Niners defense. And this is with the Rams only having the ball for about 2 minutes in the first quarter. Stafford looked like an MVP, and it really is incredible that he's doing this in his late 30s and looks as good as he's looked. 30 of 47, 389 yards, 8.3 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and a rating of 111. His passing chart, silly. Literally making throws all over the yard. And a big reason he was able to do this, outside of Bryce Huff's sack on the first drive of the game, Stafford really wasn't touched for the remainder of the game. And I think this Niners secondary is pretty good. Deommodore Lenoir, I know he's penalized a couple of times on Thursday. He's played pretty well. Renardo Green playing pretty well. I know Marquis Siegel has been picked on in coverage, but he's made some big plays. Malik Mustafa is going to come back. Jason Pinnock playing some decent ball. D. Winters and Fred Warner at that second level at the linebacker spots. They've held up very well and have been elite in coverage. But if you can generate more of a pass rush, it makes the back end's job so much easier. Whereas now they have to hold up for so long, and it's impossible to do that. There has been a 2-game sample size without Nick Bosa. And in those 2 games against Jacksonville and against the Rams, the 49ers pass rush has really struggled. It's been non-existent. The Niners, for the first time in a game since 2015 against Jacksonville, did not have a quarterback hit, did not have a sack. I'm recording this show early Friday morning. As of right now, the PFF data is still being analyzed. It hasn't been released, but the Niners' pressure numbers were not good against the Rams. And there are a lot of indications across the league, people I talked to from top-notch NFL insiders, that with how the Niners won that game, with where they are, what they've shown so far, the level of coaching that they have, and the potential of this ball club, they're going to pounce and make a move. Here's what Dan Graziano said of ESPN. I'm looking at San Francisco, where the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch Niners have never been shy about making big in-season moves. Hello, Christian McCaffrey. And they're suffering through an incredible rash of early season injuries again. The latest, to star edge rusher Nick Bosa. He falls into the irreplaceable category, but that shouldn't stop the Niners from seeing if they can bring another edge rusher to supplement whatever plan they have to compensate for Bosa's loss. Well, the best move that the Niners can make to supplement losing Nick Bosa is this guy here to my right. With the way that the Niners won that game against the Rams, with how they've looked this year, they can contend here in 2025, even though they went through this hybrid rebuild this offseason. But they're not going to be a Super Bowl contender with the current construction of this roster along the defensive line and with how the pass rush has struggled to generate pressures in the 2 games since Nick Bosa has been out. The most logical move for San Francisco is Trey Hendrickson. Joe Burrow is out until December. The Bengals looked awful on Monday Night Football on the road against the Denver Broncos. They're not going to survive until December with Jake Browning at quarterback. The Bengals are now 2-2. By the time that the NFL trade deadline comes around, I don't think they're going to be above 500. The Bengals showed us what their plans are with their actions. They didn't sign Trey Hendrickson to a contract extension, so he is not in their future plans beyond 2025. And Hendrickson fits the scheme. He's a great character player. He'd be a player who greatly enhances this Niners pass rush. Bryce Huff can go back to being the Robin. instead of being the Batman. He's not going to get double teamed on so many occasions like he is right now because he's really the only real threat to consistently get after the quarterback. And I think Hendrickson would love the opportunity to come to San Francisco to compete for a playoff spot and compete for a Super Bowl. And even when Nick Bosa does come back next year, if the Niners want to sign Hendrickson to a contract extension, Bosa, Hendrickson, and Mykel Williams can still all share the field at the same time because all of these players can play defensive end and they can play defensive tackle. And the Niners here, if they make this move for Hendrickson, have optionality. They can extend him if they want. They have the cap space to do that, or he can be a rental for 2025, and they can let him walk after this year, and they can get him for, at this point, I think a pretty affordable price for the caliber of player that Hendrickson is. And the caliber of player, one of the top pass rushers in the game. And I think that you can get him for a second or third round pick potentially. 17.5 sacks in 2023 and 2024. No player had more the last two seasons going into 2025 than Hendrickson. 36 quarterback hits in 2024. 25 in 2023. He's also been a really durable player. And to start this year, he's gotten off to a really good start. Overall PFF grade of 78.3. That ranks 24th among 165 pass rushers. His pass rush grade is 81.8, 16th. He's a pretty good run defender as well. The Niners want players who can set the edge. And Hendrickson isn't an elite edge setter, but he can still do a good job of that. He's tallied 19 pressures. That ranks 11th at the position. He has 5 hits. That ranks 7th. And he has 2 sacks to start the year. Now, the trade deadline is after Week 9, going into Week 10. I like how the NFL has done this, smack dab in the middle of the year. It used to be a lot earlier, and it was too early. But as far as the Niners making this type of trade, I would make this trade sooner rather than later because you need to. You're at 4-1 right now. Not going to make this trade going into Buccaneers week, but how about after that? Then he's got plenty of time to get acclimated with the scheme. You still have a bye week later in the year, and you make this trade sooner, you don't run the risk of dropping a couple of ball games. Instead, he just helps you improve right away. And now the Niners are even more banged up at the pass rusher spot. Nick Bosa obviously gone for the year, but Yetur Gross-Matos injured his hamstring against the Rams. He's been a really solid player this year. So that is another hit to the Niners' depth. A trade just makes too much sense. So what say you? Do you want the Niners to trade for a pass rusher? T for trade, P for pass. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section right now. I'm going to get to my other favorite target coming up here just around the corner, but I do want to tell you about this deal thanks to our fine friends at Fanatics. What an unbelievable sale item. This Niners hoodie was $80. It is now on sale for $48, nearly 50% off. And fall is quickly approaching. The temperatures are dipping. Get geared up for that weather while repping the Niners at chatsports.com/Niners hoodie. That link is in the chat. It's attached to the pinned comment, and it's in the show notes of today's San Francisco 49ers report. Another player getting buzz as a potential Niners trade target, Kayvon Thibodeaux, defensive end for the New York Giants. This is a player who is obviously younger than Trey Hendrickson, and he's under team control for 2026 because the Giants exercised his 5th-year option. Really liked him at Oregon. He was the 5th overall pick in the 2022 draft. Excellent size at 6'5", 258 pounds. The Giants already have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, who they drafted early in the 2025 draft. And so they have premier players at the pass rusher spot already that could make Kayvon Thibodeaux expendable. I know the Giants came through with the big win over the Chargers in week 4, but I expect them to still continue to lose games. That could make them sellers going into the deadline. And with Thibodeaux, he can get after the quarterback. He's a good edge setter. He's really good against the run, and he could definitely play in the wide 9. So far this year, overall PFF grade of 73.6, a run defense grade of 75.4, his pass rush grade 66.8, and there's been a consistent level of generating pressure on the quarterback. 17 pressures this year and 3 sacks. And you look at what he's done every week here. Week 1 against the Commanders, a half sack and 3 pressures, 2 stops. Week 2 against the Cowboys, a sack, 5 pressures, 1 quarterback hit, and 5 stops. Week 3 against the Chiefs, no sacks but 4 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, and a stop. And then against the Chargers, 1 sack, 5 pressures, a quarterback hit, and 1 stop. Look at those pressure numbers the first 4 games of the year. 3, 5, 4, and 5. This guy is a stud. And hopefully the Giants continue to lose football games because I think he might be more affordable than Trey Hendrickson. You get a younger player, and it's a win that he's under team control. He can really boost and help out this Niners defensive line. His career numbers, in 2022, he played 14 games, had 6 sacks as a rookie with 40 pressures. 2023, played all 17 games, had 11 and a half sacks, 43 pressures. In 2024, he missed some time, but still had 5.5 sacks in 12 games and still tallied nearly 40 pressures with 38. There has been consistency to his game, and he brings San Francisco an edge and a lot of swagger. So Hendrickson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, my top 2 trade targets for San Francisco as Nick Bosa replacements. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram. John Lynch, you might be watching. You should be watching. Make a move. Give me a follow on X and Instagram. I'm always talking Niners here. I'm always talking Niners over there. And as always, thanks for your support. All right. Chip, how we doing with questions? Do we have enough for a mailbag here?
We have, let's see, we got one from Kendrick LaVar. Real close to Kendrick Lamar there. Kendrick LaVar, one from Jay, one from Joe, one from Johnny Dubs, and one from Leon Sandcastle. So we have 5 questions.
5 questions.
Right now.
Okay.
I guess 6, but actually we count this super chat from Dustin.
Cool. All right, last call for our mailbag. Use the hashtag 49ers for sending a super chat.
Dylan's getting one in there. I think we got enough.
All right, cool. Hashtag 49ers, send in a super chat.
Dylan and Nelson VR on the same wavelength in the chat there. Both asking the same question there. But we'll definitely get that one answered. I like this question from John. So, last call. Last call.
Last call. Hashtag 49ers, send in a super chat. We'll get that mailbag going here in just a moment.
Bryce with a question. Armad, appreciate you blocking those bots last night as well. You and Taco, I believe, both mods, getting in there blocking the bots.
Oh, fantastic job. Fernando Espinoza, what an effing win with the $5 super chat. That's how everybody is feeling, man. What an effing win. No doubt about it. Guy Wallace with the $10 super chat. If somebody sends in a 100, I know it's early. I'll shotgun for a $100 super chat.
Woo.
My stomach's not ready for that, but if somebody sends in a 100, I will do it for you. Niners ran 86 plays on offense last night. McCaffrey played the second most snaps of his career. Fernando, what an effing win. Those are all of our emotions, man. I love it. Guy Wallace with the 10. Here's to brother John, Chase, and the Chat Sports crew. All the faithful. Hell of a game. Thank you for that, my man. Thank you for that. All right.
John's brother. That's a lecture.
Who?
It's John Wallace's brother.
Oh, shit. Is that the case?
I think so. Unless they're just like, same last name, and they're just like, that's my brother, but.
That'd be awesome. Any relation there, Guy and John? Logan with the 5. Are the Niners Super Bowl contenders after beating the Rams last night? Let me answer that in the mailbag. He's my brother in Christ, extended family. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. All right, mailbag coming up. We'll round out with that for our live show on this Victory Friday. Continue to get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers. Send in a super chat. And I'm excited to open up the floor and take all of your questions here. As here we go. Yo, welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Senior here with you. Hope you're all having a phenomenal weekend. You will have a stress-free Sunday because the Niners come through with that stressful but epic victory over the Rams on Thursday. And so what we're doing here on the show, opening up the floor, talking all things Niners. I'm taking questions from the faithful for a mailbag as San Francisco is 4-1 to start the year. Logan gets us started with the $5 super chat. Are the 49ers Super Bowl contenders after beating the Rams on Thursday night? So I think the 49ers have shown, Logan, that they can beat contenders in the NFC. And it wouldn't surprise me if they represent the NFC in the Super Bowl in February, which happens to be at Levi's Stadium for Super Bowl 60. But I would say right now, the 49ers are not Super Bowl contenders because they need to make a trade for a pass rusher. Against the Jags, against the Rams, they weren't able to generate a pass rush. And when you get into the playoffs, you're not going to be able to win if you can't get pressure on the quarterback because your back end can't hold up for that long. You have to play complementary on defense. And what I mean by that, the pass rush gets home, which makes the back end's job easier. And the back end talent is certainly there. The linebacking core talent, some of the best in the NFL, obviously led by Fred Warner, who's playing at a Defensive Player of the Year type of level and is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. And I like some of the pieces along the defensive line, but you can't survive throughout the rigors of an 18-week, 17-game schedule without a player like Nick Bosa if you don't bring in some pass rush juice. So if you make a trade for a pass rusher, I think you look at the Niners in a completely different light. Dustin Reeves, $2 super chat, bang, bang, chat. Let's get a defensive end ASAP. And I think a lot of people have woken up to this idea. And I had said after Bosa went down, the Niners aren't going to make a move right away. San Francisco is going to gauge the next few weeks to see how they play, how they perform. Let's see if the pass rush can step up. Let's see if we don't have to give up valuable draft capital because ideally you wouldn't have to do that. But this is how great Nick Bosa is. And you've seen how much the Niners have missed him in the last 2 games. He's been sorely missed. There's no replacing an elite player like that. And so I'm with you on that front. The Niners have to make a trade for a pass rusher. And there are some good ones out there. Trey Hendrickson is my number 1 option. Kayvon Thibodeaux is my number 2 option. You look at a player like Carl Granderson of the New Orleans Saints. You look at a player like Cam Jordan from the Saints. The Saints haven't won a game yet. You look at other teams that could be sellers as we approach the deadline. You want to target players on those teams. John Lynch, you got to make a move. And with the Niners winning that game on Thursday, the team had to have instilled a lot of confidence in Lynch that, okay, we got to pounce. And the Niners have not shied away from being aggressive under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. 2019, they traded for Emmanuel Sanders. And then in the years after that, they traded for Jordan Willis. They traded for Charles Omenihu. They traded for Chase Young. They traded for Christian McCaffrey. They've made moves in season to address weaknesses. They have a good pulse on that front. MacFam, $2 super chat. What about the rookie defense? These rookie defenders are for real. And I really like this draft class coming out of it. I know a lot of people thought that the Niners overdrafted, but they stay true to their board. They stay true to the players who they like, who fit the Niners. Mykel Williams is a Niner. Upton Stout has a Niner type of mentality. Marquise Siegel swarms to the ball. The Niners love that. Alfred Collins is a mountain of a man. CJ West plays violent. But yeah, to start the year, you were seeing signs of these young Niner defenders being really legitimate players. I like what I've seen from Mykel Williams. Alfred Collins, how about the peanut punch on Kyren Williams to pretty much help win the game? Marquise Siegel, the tackle on Kyren Williams on the big 4th down stop. Upton Stout against the Cardinals had one of the game-saving, game-changing plays with the pass breakup on Zay Jones. Like, you're seeing these rookies grow up before our eyes, and of course, there are going to be some lumps. There are going to be some bruises and bumps. But you're seeing them develop before our very eyes, and I think over time, They can become really special players. And how about the job of Robert Saleh for developing these young players and putting them in positions to succeed? That's what great coaching does. Aaron Bison with the $5 super chat. Hey, Chase, fan of the Niners and the Lions. And yeah, they aren't because they need health and aren't on the Lions or Eagles level, to be honest, but they are playing great. The Lions are another team that you can't sleep on. And there were a lot of overreactions from how the Lions struggled in week 1 against Green Bay, and people were saying they're cooked. It's going to be a down year. Well, in the week since then, they have looked awesome. And so NFC power rankings, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are still number 1. I'd go Detroit Lions number 2. Who's after that? Green Bay has been exposed the last 2 games. I think you can put the Niners right in that other category. Because once they get healthy, who's to say they can't be better than one of the top teams in the NFL? Think about the reinforcements that they have coming, right? And if they make a trade at pass rusher. So Brandon Ayuk and Malik Mustafa are pretty much going to be trade deadline types of acquisitions. George Kittle could come back against Tampa Bay. You make a trade for a pass rusher. You get Brock Purdy back as well. Those are huge players coming back. Jawan Jennings, get healthy. Ricky Pearsall, get healthy. Sky's the limit for this Niners team. Kendrick Lamar. Shanahan needs to be drug tested immediately. Questionable play calling and committing the same mistakes that have been holding us back for his whole tenure. Look, I understand why people are going to criticize Kyle Shanahan, and he brings that on himself. And I thought in the second half, he got a little bit overly conservative. But if you're going to criticize Kyle Shanahan, can you also give him credit? The fact that the Niners won that game on Thursday is a testament to Kyle Shanahan. It's the coaching, it's the preparation, it's the belief, it's the culture. I had some people walk up to me at Chat Sports and say, I can't believe how Kyle Shanahan, according to Niner fans, they want him fired. Because he would get a job in 5 minutes. Think about how ugly other teams would lose if they didn't have Kyle Shanahan dealing with all of the circumstances that the Niners dealt with going up against a quality opponent on a short week on the road against the Rams. A lot of other teams would get blasted. They would look ahead to the next game and say, we have no chance. But because of Kyle Shanahan's leadership and coaching, they had a chance and they won the game. Mac Jones playing as well as he's played. Why is that? It's the coaching of Kyle Shanahan. We have seen how Mac Jones has struggled with other coaches. Mac Jones won that game against this Rams team that has one of the best defenses in the NFL with Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Sky Moore, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling as his top 4 wide receivers with the bad offensive line. That's because of Kyle Shanahan. So he didn't manage the game great. He only had 1 timeout left in the 4th quarter. Could have used another one. He got a little bit conservative, almost burned him, but the Niners also won that game because of the coaching from Kyle Shanahan, and I think that Kyle Shanahan is firmly in the running to be coach of the year. This Niners team being 4-1 with all of these injuries and adversity, an incredible coaching job. And all of the games that they've won have been down to the wire, tightrope wins. Give Kyle Shanahan some credit, please. These Niners rivalry edition jerseys, I saw them all over the place at SoFi Stadium, Levi Stadium South. A lot of Niner fans were rocking these on Thursday. Get yours now. Bunch of different options available. I love the saloon font. Chatsports.com/49er rivalry. There are also hats available as well. Using that link, shirts as well, hoodies, whatever you want. With that rivalry merch, it is out. It is available. Some items on sale. Really good prices. Chatsports.com/49 rivalry. Nestor Romo, $5 super chat. Brock should only come back when he's 100%, no doubt. And look, I defended Kyle Shanahan moments ago. They mismanaged the Brock Purdy injury situation. You just paid Purdy $55 million per year. You gave him $265 million. He's dealing with turf toe, which has a high rate and risk of re-aggravation and it becoming worse. And they play Purdy when he's not healthy enough to play against Jacksonville in a game against an AFC South team. It doesn't have NFC implications. It doesn't have NFC West implications. And clearly he wasn't right. He didn't look healthy in that game or in practice. And what happens? Re-aggravates his turf toe. And with him playing hurt, it led to a lot of passes being sailed, a lot of misfires, which resulted in turnovers. He wasn't able to be the same player because he couldn't move around as well. So they mismanaged that situation. And I'm with you. Do not play him unless he's close to or at 100%. Leon Sandcastle, when the Titans hit the fire sale mode, should Lynch aggressively pursue a Jeffrey Simmons trade? So Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best defensive linemen in the game. And a couple of years ago, I looked at him in that class with Chris Jones as one of the best defensive tackles in football. He's kind of fallen under the radar a bit because he's played on some Titans teams, which have been awful the last couple of years. With Simmons, he's not quite the all-pro player who he was a couple of years ago, but he's still elite. I also don't know how much this helps you with your pass rush. Obviously from the interior, but you drafted Alfred Collins, you drafted CJ West, they've had some moments. Kalia Davis going to be out for a couple of weeks with that broken hand. You have Jordan Elliott. What you really need is an edge rusher. And Jeffrey Simmons is not an edge rusher. Now, a second-team All-Pro, second team in 2021 and 2022, three-time Pro Bowler, 2021, 2022, and 2024. He's been an excellent player. 19th overall pick out of Mississippi State in the first round in 2019. His production has been pretty damn consistent. The sack numbers the last few years haven't been as good. He had 8.5 in 2021, 7.5 in 2022, 5.5, 5 the last 2 years, and then 2 this year. And I love the player, but he costs a lot, and I don't know if he helps you where you need it, which is pass rusher. John Wallace, hey Chip, this question is for the mailbag. If we did this, able to get some type of packaging for Trey Hendrickson as well as Thibodeaux, ask Chase, what would that look like in the draft picks for those trades? So I think for Hendrickson, you could probably get him for a second or a third. And I think with Thibodeaux, it's probably a third, maybe a second. Now, Hendrickson's an older player, not under contract next year. Thibodeaux is a younger player who is 24, going to be 25 in December. He is under contract for next year. And so that obviously alters the price tag a little bit. You want the Giants and Bengals to continue to lose games. And if they do, both those players could be available. Bryce, does Ayuk play a role like he did in 2023, or will he decline with the talent around him? You know, I have no idea. We'll see how Ayuk looks. That injury was as bad as it gets with a knee. For instance, Nick Bosa's ACL tear, it was clean. Ayuk, ACL, meniscus, MCL damage. With how he got hit and the velocity in which he got hit, with his body twerking like it did and the knee bending in the wrong direction, he completely shredded his knee. And John Lynch has said he's not anywhere close to coming back. He suffered that injury week 7 of last year. So we're approaching a year mark. If he can get back to that 2023 form, we're talking about a player who was an all-pro. Filthy route runner, can beat zone, can beat man. And I hope that he can return to that form. Because you pair Brandon Ayuk with Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, and Demarcus Robinson, that's a hell of a top 4 at your wide receiver position. Dylan Lutz, how do you feel about Jordan James when he gets healthy? What position should they target in the 2026 draft? I like Jordan James. Good contact balance. Didn't fumble once at Oregon. Was having a good spring and summer before he got hurt. I think the Niners have really cooled on Isaac Guerendo. That's why they made the trade for Brian Robinson. And Brian Robinson, he's not even getting that many carries because McCaffrey's workload is insane. On Thursday, he played the second most snaps of his career, 72 snaps in the game. So while CMC doesn't have the same juice maybe, he still looks damn good, and he's making an impact as a receiver. I said a few years ago, if he can be more of a receiver threat, that's how he can extend his prime. And so what is the role for Jordan James with CMC getting so many touches and B-Rob as the backup? Maybe next year, because Robinson is going to be a free agent, he becomes the RB2. I like him as a player. As far as where the Niners are going to go in the 2026 NFL draft, got to address offensive line. You know, Trent Williams is older, not the same guy. You're not good enough at left guard. You're not good enough at center. And Dominic Puni has regressed, needs to improve, might still be dealing with that knee injury that he suffered in the second preseason game, but it's offensive line, and maybe another pass rusher. Who is your dream trade target for the Niners? Let me know down in the chat. Share your thoughts with me, and as always, thank you so much for watching. $2 super chat from Point and Shoot. McCorkle rules. Michael McCorkle Jones. What a legend. David Corona. What up, Chase Cedar? What up, Corona? How you doing, brother? All right, Chip and I are going to sign off. Just wanted to do a quick Friday live show on this Victory Friday. Thanks for hanging out here with me. Another great audience on top of what we did last night. And what a win for the Niners. Great content to come all throughout the weekend. I'll be live with Larry Krueger in a little more than an hour on the Krug Show. I'll also be on KNBR tonight, the sports leader in San Francisco. So be on the lookout for that as well.